I know I should stop, and I've blown it anyway. Um, I've had the wife tap me on the shoulder and be like, "We got to go," and I'm like, "I'm not going."
Casino trip, full of chips. Wanna flip, double it.
Welcome to the Full of Chips podcast, the only chips you'll never lose, where the stakes are high, the takes are bold, and the conversations are always full of chips. With your hosts, Chris the Dice Degen and Craig from Old Bay Craps, you're tuned in to Full of Chips, the podcast where we dive into our experiences gambling and stories straight from the casino floor. Whether you're a seasoned pro at the craps table or just curious what the buzz is about, you're in the right place. Each week, we break down the games, talk to the experts, and bring you tips that could tilt the odds in your favor. So grab your lucky charm, stack your chips, and let's roll into today's episode.
Welcome, everybody, to the Full of Chips podcast, episode 44, the only chips you will never lose. I am your host, Old Bay Craps. I can't do it alone, as always. I got my buddy here, Chris, the Dice Degen. Chris, how are you feeling today?
We are feeling good today. We are feeling good. A little hot, because the weather on the East Coast has been crazy. Like 95 degrees or something today. I was playing volleyball earlier outside, and I've regretted that pretty quickly. But overall, feeling good. So you know what that means. It's going to be a good episode. But then again, all of our episodes are good episodes. How are you doing today?
I am mentally exhausted, so I'm going to do my best through this episode, but I always give it my all. So I plan
There
on
you
doing the
go.
same.
Give it the old
It has been
college
hot
try.
Well, I can do that. I mean, I went to college, graduated. Not doing what I went to college for, not even close. That was a good waste of money. A monkey could do what I do. And when you need to go to college, you can go straight with a GED and still get it done.
Straight with banana, right to the office.
Right to the office. It's been hot here too, but as you're noticing, I don't look like I'm prepared for hot. I'm prepared for winter, which you and I love to make it like it is winter all the time because we love wearing hoodies. My basement is fucking freezing. We keep the house normal like anybody else. So upstairs, just one level up and temperatures feel normal, t-shirt, shorts if you want. That's how it's been. But down here, it's like I am living in a fucking igloo. But you know what? I'm hopeful. I'm going to say that because this podcast has been awesome. It's been awesome doing it with you. We got a lot of things coming down the pipe. We got stuff special happening. Maybe next episode. One thing I know we haven't done in a while, Chris, which I think we're due, is a what the fuck, or we certainly need an award to come up sometime soon. Maybe when we get over the 5th episode hump, we'll get back to some of the side segments we do that people love. So right now I'm just concentrating on what I'm drinking because it's been a long day and this is a long drink and I'm happy to do it.
There you go. Got to tell the folks at home, though, what are you drinking?
I am drinking in our Full of Chips whiskey glasses, bullet bourbon, and caffeine-free.
There you go. Won't be keeping you up tonight.
I do want to add that if you look at the past 10 or 12 episodes, neither of us have been drinking water, and sometimes may not even had it near us other than the alcohol.
You know what's funny? So I was editing our last episode, which I'm still working on, by the way. But I was editing our last episode, and I realized that I finished my drink like halfway through the episode, and there was multiple times where I went to grab it, and I was like, "Shit, it's empty." And I was like, okay.
Yeah. There are times where halfway through the episode, we're done our drinks, but people will see, oh, why is your glass still dark? It's because it's not full of alcohol; it's full of soda.
We fully endorse a lot of bit of alcohol, a little bit of Diet Coke.
We do very much a little bit of Diet Coke. Did we even get to what you were drinking?
No, we didn't get to what I was drinking. I have a funny story off what I was drinking. I am drinking.
Oh, there you go.
Actually, so I'm in a tumbler today because I mixed two things. So I have Elijah Craig, well, little bourbon in there, and then I had my own version of like Arnold Palmer, so it's half lemonade, half iced tea. Fire, so good. But funny story off of that. So I was at the PGA this past weekend, right? And I
Yes.
wasn't working. I was there as a spectator, and went to they had a Elijah Craig tent there, right? And I've had
Ooh,
Elijah Craig in the house for a while, but they had a tent there, and my bartender he would do very well on the Full of Chips podcast because he made that drink a whole lot of bourbon, very little mix. And I was like, I literally took a sip. I
nice.
was like, whoa, all right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Was it a little bit of Diet Coke?
No, it was not. This is why I'm drinking my drink. It was lemonade and iced tea. So I figure I got to keep the vibes going. I haven't had one of these in a long time, and I was like, you know what? I need another one tonight. Today, I had to go take my car to get my oil changed, and ran over to the supermarket. Had to grab some stuff for dinner, and I was like, you know what? Let me grab me some lemonade. Let me grab me some iced tea, and I'm ready for tonight.
Nice, nice. I don't know why we do this to ourselves. You know all those pre-made bets, sports bets that flash across the screen, like they're made by like Shaq or
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith and shit like that. So I decided tonight I'm going to do a dollar bet on all of them. Some are going to win. If they win, they win $5. Some win $9. Some win $18. Like, I don't care. But I just placed a dollar on a bunch of them, like $5 worth, $5 or $6 worth of just dollar bets. So we're going to see if any of
Okay.
that rolls around. Um,
There you go.
I, I'm not saying I found something new just to get off the European basketball for a little bit, but I like the
You may
live
have.
bets.
Yeah.
I found instant tennis.
Oh, here we go. Instant tennis. So were we
It
betting on the clay tournament today? Do you even know that they're
we
playing on
were.
clay?
I don't know. I haven't seen Clay since Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi were playing the French Open.
There
Um,
you go.
but I was like, okay, you can bet on the serve and like instant. It's an instant bet. I'm like, it's no worse than losing in fucking European basketball. I saw tennis and I'm like, I don't want to do tennis. I don't like the 6-4, 4-3, whatever the fuck. And I was like, I don't know how to bet for that. And I was like, and I saw something at the bottom. It said instant tennis. And I was like, what is that? And I was like, oh shit, you could just bet on the serve, one serve, like 15 love, like just one serve, whatever. Like you got a 50% chance of getting it right. I mean, let's just say the first one went well.
There you go.
Um, but after I did it, I was like, I'm gonna keep this in the back pocket. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do any more. Just gonna keep it. I'm gonna watch it for a while. So I started watching it. Like there were more people collecting in the crowd, and then the crowd was moving to one side of the net where they were split.
Yeah.
So very very interesting.
There you
Very
go.
interesting.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah,
It's a nice getaway from European basketball that just can be shit sometimes.
it is. It is. I will warn you in advance, stay away from women's tennis. No disrespect to the ladies, but women's tennis is the worst thing to bet on in the world.
It's probably as bad as the women's basketball.
Might be
It's no
worse,
disrespect.
honestly.
It's just that the points just don't even come close to the projections.
Yeah.
Let's just say.
Yeah. No, yeah. Women's tennis is that's a feat, let me tell you. That's a feat. Yeah. I was betting on the same
However,
tournament you were today. But
I
no
was
no
betting on
instant bets.
Coleman and Harris. Coleman Harris. I
Yeah.
don't know if the guy's
Yeah.
name is
I
Coleman.
I I know who you're talking about. Don't worry, I was watching all the scores earlier because I was betting on what's it called? I don't know, some freaking schmuck, Rojas or Rosas. Couldn't even tell you his name. Was watching him. I'm like, this guy's gonna win. I'm gonna bet on him. And then
Nice.
I was betting on some other ones too. Sometimes when you're seeing the board very clearly, you just have to fire.
Oh yeah. When
Guys,
you're
you
in a
would like
zone, you
this.
just gotta.
So today, right, I'm sitting there and I was at the gym, right? I'm at the gym this morning. And I mind you, I actually have dialed back the betting a little bit. I haven't been betting as much as I have been recently. So I dialed it back
Okay.
just a touch. And mainly it was because I didn't have cell service at the PGA. All right, because there was virtually zero cell service, so I couldn't freaking bet. Um, beside the point. So one account that I never use, I put in money as like a deposit because they had like a deposit bonus, and I like never use that account for anything really. But I opened the
Oh,
account for my grandpa when my grandpa was betting because he's like old school South Philly, would bet through like a bookie before. And I mean,
right.
he's like 95 years old, so like he doesn't know how to use a phone, right? He calls me now as his bookie. And so I have money in an account on the side for him, right? He calls me and he's like, play $5 bet on this, $10 bet on this, whatever, right? And I place it for him. And I have it running on the side. Well, he told me not too long ago he's gonna stop betting, whatever. Um, so I had money sitting in this account and it was like $30, right? Because like I don't need
Yeah.
that account that funded for his bets because it's $5, $10 bets, whatever. I had $30 in bets, or $30 in that account. Well, Craig, that account now, you want to know what it sits at today?
What's it? When did it start?
This morning?
You started the account this morning?
No, I've had the account for a while. I started betting with the $30 this morning.
Oh, okay.
You don't know what
What
the
you got in
account
there?
balance is right now? 306.
What is that all from tennis?
Chinese soccer,
Chinese
tennis,
soccer. And you think I'm bad? And you think I'm bad with my European basketball? And you're playing Chinese soccer?
Chinese soccer, tennis, and then some English Premier League soccer, and some I don't know United Nations Cup or some shit that's being played right now. My bet just cashed. I was just looking at it. So lovely first half cash. We love to see that. But yeah, so started at $30 this morning, and we are up to 306 right now.
What was your biggest vault to get over 100?
Well, so I took the 30 and put it on the Chinese soccer play, of course. While I'm sitting at the gym. That's where I started this conversation. See, this is what you get at
So
Full
you
of
did.
Chips.
So
We
you
just
did like
have,
a you did like a lose it or bust it. You just did a lose or bust it, kind of thing.
yeah. I mean, what am I gonna do with $30 in the account? Like realistically, like I'm not gonna withdraw it, right? So it's like,
I know.
let,
I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make 6 different bets.
no, it was a $30 bet. I was literally sitting at the gym and I'm like, the hell's on right now? And I was like, oh, Chinese soccer, perfect. Now, mind you, right? I say Chinese soccer. People at home are like, who the hell follows Chinese soccer? DGen follows Chinese soccer. Okay, DGen is well versed in the Chinese Super League. So I was betting on that at the gym, and then I got home and the tennis bets started because they were next. And it was one of those things where like I was basically just rolling it over and rolling it over until
Yeah.
I would finally lose. Once I got up like over $100, then I started, halving the bets. So I would do like, 2 bets, but full balance on those 2 bets. Now, I don't recommend people bet like this normally, but this was a social experiment and it was $30. So
It's been my dream to take $20 and just balloon it over time by everything that I bet is all of it. It's an all or nothing.
yeah.
So
A lot of
uh,
people do them. I've done them in the past. Like they're called ladder challenges when you try to win like 5 bets in a row or 10 bets in a row and you roll every single one over. Um, They can be good, they can be bad, but like on those kind of bets, you can't be looking for massive home runs, right? Like your home run, quote unquote, is if you hit all the bets. So like you're looking for, I mean, when they run the ladders, they're usually like even money bets, or like parlays to get to even money. Most of my bets, like I
yeah.
think the most juiced bet that I placed today was like minus 130, I think. Um, a couple plus money bets in there too. But yeah, I was quite happy with that. And it wasn't like it took me like 10 bets. It was like 4 or 5, 6 bets, something like that.
So I got 2 things. One, let me clarify. I do not bet on European basketball. I bet on uh, Asian South Pacific
Yes.
leagues like Korean League and Chinese League and uh, well, Slavic leagues. Yes, those two. So those would technically, yes, be European. Yeah, the Chinese basketball league, it's pretty much like X or people that couldn't make the NBA because they score as many points as the NBA,
Yeah, there's a
you know.
lot of ex NBA players or like really good college players who never got drafted or like couldn't crack it in the G League and they play over in like
Yeah.
China, or some of them play in Europe, but a lot of them play in the Asian leagues to get paid more.
Yeah. My other point is, have you ever tried the 1326 with sports betting?
That's a good question. The answer to that is no.
I was like 10, 30, 20, 60,
Should we fire that tomorrow?
maybe, because sometimes like, you know how you get like in that little zone where like you actually get like five in a row hit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just need 4 in a row to hit. So I'm going to be doing 10, 30, 20, 60.
We might have to fire that tomorrow.
I'd never do it on NBA though.
No, we don't bet on the National Bullshit Association.
NBA is like the League of Stepfathers. Like that's how they treat my bets.
Well, I mean, most of them are.
Sometimes they show, sometimes they don't.
That's how their ex-wives and girlfriends feel too.
I can't wait to get into these topics. Some people might think that they're not related, but I think they're slightly related. We'll try to flow one into the other as best we can, as best we do here. I did have come across a nice couple of quotes. One kind of goes into our first topic. Left the table down 200, but saved myself from losing 800 more. And the other quote is, the casino doesn't need you to lose control. It just needs you to believe you can win it all back.
There you go. Those are very good quotes. I think we're gonna have to introduce another segment, the quotes from Craig's book.
I don't know, between the quotes and the dad jokes, I don't know if I can fulfill that.
Sorry, asking too much. I'm asking too much. No, I like those quotes. I think they're very poignant, right? Very true. I mean, how many times, right, do we, you walk away down a little bit, but like you're sitting there, and it's not really that bad, right? Like, does it suck? Sure, right? I'm not going to say losing is great. Like, losing sucks.
No.
But the flip side of that is, in your quote, I lost 200 instead of losing 800. Like, that's a nice feeling of sorts. Like, again, losing still sucks, but I'd much rather lose 200 than lose 800.
But we know that quote doesn't apply to the majority of people.
No, a lot of people are going to burn it. No, a lot of people are just going to burn it.
That's what they wish they told their friends or their wives when they returned home.
Oh yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, right? We're fully honest on Full of Chips. You and I have both done it before. I mean,
Yeah.
I know I should stop, and I've blown it anyway. I've had the wife tap me on the shoulder and be like, "We got to go," and I'm like, "I'm not going." And what do? Burn more. I mean, it happens. But right, you got to learn from it, right? We always talk about, learning from mistakes or learning from experiences, whatever it may be. And, again, yes, you're down 200, but you're not down 800. So sometimes you got to eat the loss, right? Accept the fact that you're going to lose, because if you're going to gamble a lot or you want to do this for a long period of time, you have to know that you're going to lose. It kills me when I see people always saying like, I never lose. Well, you either one of two things. You lie, which is probably number one,
Right.
or two, you don't gamble at all, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, I've seen plenty of people, oh, I've never lost. Yeah, because you're playing, in your bedroom on some, little table that you made, or in your, your man cave or whatever you want to call it, and you're playing in there. Sure, yeah, you'd never lost because the real money's not at play. But like when it comes down to actually going to the casino, doesn't work. And I'm not talking about the bullshit where people buy in for $5,000 trying to win 100, because I think that that to me automatically discounts the fact that you never lose.
Oh yeah. I mean, limiting losses really it's a skill if you're able to do it. If you're able to limit your losses, believe us, that's a skill. Put that into your gambler's toolkit and save that for a later time, because you're going to need it. You may even need it every session. I don't know how it all depends on how you play, but limiting losses is a long-term strategy, especially for your bankroll. But I mean, it's the difference between a gambler and a disaster.
Yeah.
I've been on too many sides of disaster. And here's the thing, you get tired of it. And, and that might be the impetus to you starting to limit your losses or starting to do a better job of being able to walk away, because you've just been hammered so many times and you're like, fuck, like 3-4 years into it, I'm honest, I'm still not a winning player. But again, I said it in the interview with Jen. I said it, I believe, last episode, maybe a couple episodes ago. I know I can win at this game. I have trouble walking away.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that walking away is limiting your losses if you do have to walk away. Look, all those times that I've lost at the casino, if I actually had like a 50% stop loss, that totally would have helped me build for the next bankroll to go back to the casino. And I could have gone to the casino a lot more often and on a regular basis than going, 3 times a year at my local. I could have been going like once a month to the casino if I had just limited my losses and took that money and started building on top of that and building on top of that. It's unbelievable how much I do believe that limiting losses is a skill.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely a skill. And you made a really good point with the fact that, like, if you did limit your losses, right, you would be able to go more. It's the same thing with, like, even building the bankroll, right? Like, a part of building your bankroll is limiting your losses, right? Like, because let's be honest, we know a lot of people are not going to actually subscribe by the idea that, you should be taking a small percentage of your entire bankroll to the casino, right? They're probably taking, in most cases, a lot of people are taking a lot of them, a big percentage of their actual bankroll, right? And a piece of the bankroll management is limiting that loss, like you said, so you can go another day, right? Like the table's not giving you what you need it to give you. There's nothing wrong with walking away with the loss, taking it on the chin, and coming back another day. Especially when, and this is what gets me a lot, is when I see people, oh, I tried everything and it wasn't working. Well, you didn't try everything because you didn't walk away. If you would have tried to walk away, it would have worked. You wouldn't have lost more money on the table, right? And in the instances where you are trying different things, maybe you came in with an initial strategy, you're going to pivot off that and switch to something else. When it's not working, it's not working. Your best bet is to just walk away, right? Take the loss on the chin, walk away, live to fight another day. And who knows, maybe next time you'll have a great session.
I was just gonna say it's because limiting losses isn't glamorous. Nobody wants to admit to it. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to break their ego down enough to say, I gotta stop. I gotta stop. Like nothing is working. And I
Yep.
think if people had that mentality to be able to limit a loss by just having that checking that ego at the door when you go through the casino and you're like, okay, when I approach the table, like I would say for people, real quick sidestep, it would really be interesting if people would practice this at home. Practice with the bankroll that you're comfortable taking to the casino. Like, figure out what that is. Like, for my budget, I know that that's $600. Okay. Like, I already know from years of experience that 300, 400 just doesn't cut it. It's not fun. You get more out of a $600 bankroll. With that said, practice that and go to the casino. When you go to the casino and you check your ego at the door, you're like, look, I'm going to play the way I want to play. If it's working, it's going to be a really good night. I know it. If I burn through half of it in a way too quick amount of time, I need to know that something's off, something's not working, and I should stop. And if I
Yep.
do that, that 300, that 50% stop loss can go towards another buy-in another time. Now, I know that you've said before you have no stop loss, but I also know your thought process isn't, I'm going to burn this down to zero. I don't want to burn it down to zero. I
Yeah.
want to be able to walk away with something. So you may not exactly have like a stop loss of like 50%, but you have like a dumbass loss. Yeah,
Yeah.
Chris, like walk away. And I've seen you do
Well,
it. I've seen you walk away. Like you're like it's not working.
yeah. A piece of the no stop loss though too is like I'm not buying in for as much as I could, I guess, is the idea behind
Right.
that. Like, let's say I buy in for $1,000, right? And I'm prepared to lose it all. Well, it's the same thing as me buying in for $2,000 and having a 50% stop loss. And I've argued this point with a lot of people till, the cows come home on like the difference between me not having a stop loss and you having a 50% stop loss, but buying in for double what I'm buying in for. In the overall grand scheme of things, it's still the same thing, right? And they like their usual argument for that is, well, I know when to walk away, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, great. I do too. Like, I'm just not putting as much money on the table, right? It's the same thing. If you're going to lose $1,000 and I'm going to lose $1,000, we're still losing $1,000, right? So, but no, like the skill of walking away is super important. And the other thing too that walking away and limiting those losses helps with too is those emotional decisions that we talk about all the time. right? It doesn't allow you to really tilt, or it limits your ability to tilt, because when you start making those emotional decisions, that's where we talk about, all the chaos that basically happens when you start getting emotional with your decisions. If you could limit your loss and just walk away, you wouldn't find yourself in that chaotic spot or those emotional spots where you might not be making the best decisions. Like you said, walk away down 200 instead of losing the 800. You and I both know, and probably everybody listening knows, that what happens when you're down and how do you get from down 200 to down 800? It's usually bad decisions, over betting, doing whatever it may be. Rarely is it, I did the exact same thing the entire time. Very rarely, right?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And anyone can celebrate a win. Anyone can talk strategy. But that moment when you're down, like that's when the real player comes out. Like, are
Mm-hmm.
you gonna change gears? Like clearly what you were doing was not working. But just because it wasn't working doesn't mean you can't still win. You just have to be able to switch gears. Now, if you walk, through the doors over to the table and you're like, if it's part of your plan, that's like the best part of if you learn limiting losses as a skill set is you're going to walk in with a plan that I'm going in with 600. If it gets down to 250, I'm out. I'm coloring up. Like, and you have to you have to keep your ego in check and tell your ego to shut the fuck up. I'm done. But you have to realize you're not done because oh, nothing's working for me. No, what you're doing, works a lot of the time. It's just not working that day or that session.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to
Yep.
be able to just to fucking walk away because I'm telling you from experience, I did not, but you have to be the one to protect your bankroll because if you burn it down in the name of breaking even, great. What if you had a comeback and all you did was break even? A lot of times you hear that that's the story. Like I didn't win today, but I broke even. Like, okay, whoop de doo. Like, you probably had to stay there way longer than you wanted. You probably hit something like a bonus, or you happened to hit a last chance, and it just so happened that day that something hit. But you put yourself through misery to get there, and and then you just stroked your ego and kept going, and you happened to hit something because the majority of the times you just wind up burning it all.
Yep.
And you clearly did not have limiting losses in your skill set, nor was it part of your mindset when you went in.
Yep. No, it's totally true. Totally, totally true. The other thing too with, limiting those losses is like you kind of keep the gambling from, your real life, right? Because like a lot of people like to separate, their play at the casino and their actual life, but they don't realize how much of an impact their gambling has on their real life, right? Like obviously losing sucks, right? We just said it not too long ago. But like when you're gambling with money that you can afford to lose and you maybe made a smart decision to walk away, you're going to be in a better headspace when you leave the casino. And if you're going home to your significant other, kids, whatever it may be, like there's nothing worse than being annoyed from losing at the casino and then letting that spill over into your regular life.
Well, you remember when I talked about last April, um,
Yes.
that was when I hit that ATS, was up 1,200 profit, and then still went home Friday with nothing. But
Mm-hmm.
I said during the ride home, after the ego was put back in its place, the great feeling I had by the time I got home was none of the money mattered. It did not come from
Yep.
a place that is supposed to be used for other things. It came from a
Mm-hmm.
place that I built it specifically for Atlantic City. And the fact that I happened to burn it all had zero effect on my family, had zero effect on bills because it was money I could afford to lose. But
Yep.
that's not always a story we hear about, Chris. We hear
No.
about people who literally this is what I feel like when I go to Maryland Live, especially on a Friday or Saturday night and I see the people that just stack the don'ts. I'm like, they just cashed their paycheck somewhere and they're at the table with their paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not everybody may have family ties or something. They might just be bachelors who love to burn their money. I don't know. But it's, I've been around too long in this life to know that people just take their paychecks, cash it in, and burn it. And it's like it's so damn sad to see. Um, I've seen people do it at bars with Keno. Like you
Oh yeah.
You cash your paycheck, go to Keno, and you just burn it in about 2 hours. And it's like, but that's the casino environment, though. It's engineered to keep you hopeful. And it's
Yep.
like, if you can't keep up with the fast pace or the loud winds or the constant motion, it just tricks you into thinking, that you're just one roll away from something great happening. And guess what? It never happens. Um,
Yep.
and I think too many people, walking away feels like defeat. No, losing your chips and having your rail empty when you couldn't even color up with anything is admitting defeat.
Mm-hmm.
You can still walk away with your head held high that the money didn't matter. It didn't matter.
Yep.
There wasn't a purpose other than for the table, for the casino.
Yeah.
That was the only purpose of the money that was in your pocket. And that's at least a starting point, I think, for
Mm-hmm.
learning down the road of limiting losses, is that, okay, you've hit that rock bottom. It didn't affect you financially. You can build from there and now build that skill set,
Yep.
and
100%.
experience upon experience, start building that into your tool belt about stopping at a certain point when it's just not going your way. But nobody's saying don't play the way you want to play.
Yeah.
Obviously there's going to be chaotic players, and we're going to talk about undisciplined players a little bit later, or undisciplined shooters. But undisciplined players are always going to play the way the like crazy shit, and good for them. That's not me. That's not you. I know. We're much more disciplined that way. But just because I'm disciplined doesn't mean that I'm always winning.
Yep.
But it
No,
does
it's a
mean that I'm
fact.
always walking away. I'm always walking away with a clear conscience that money didn't affect me.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I may have stole something from myself here. Um I've told you this. Most people don't know, but DGen may or may not be writing a book. So
Oh,
maybe
okay.
maybe there's a teaser there. I have told you that I was writing the book though. Will it ever see the light of day? I don't know. That's up to me and whatnot. But I had this analogy in there that I really liked, and I wanted to incorporate it into today's episode. So if I do end up publishing a book, I guess you could skip right over this piece of it, because I thought it was very poignant to include in this conversation about limiting losses, right? So um, the way I equated it was that whether you're in business or you're just someone living on Earth, right? Businesses have quarters, right? Everybody knows quarterly statements, quarterly reviews, all that kind of stuff. There's 4 seasons in a year, right? The best and most disciplined gamblers are going to treat gambling as a whole as like a yearly thing or like a seasonal thing, not just something that happens in the near short term, right? So what do I mean by that for people who that are like, DGen, what are you talking about? That there's going to be good seasons, there's going to be bad seasons, right? There's going to be good financial quarters, there's going to be bad financial quarters. It happens. But when you look at the year overall, you look at all the seasons, you look at the year as a financial aspect, you look at all the quarters, right? Sure, we had a bad first quarter, but look at quarter 2, 3, and 4. They were great, whatever it may be. If you want to consider yourself a good gambler and a disciplined gambler, you have to start equating your gambling to seasons or quarters, and you don't even have to use it by the year. Like you could make it into even longer sessions necessarily, but just think of the season analogy, the quarter analogy, that this one session or these maybe few bad sessions don't dictate the end result, right? If you burn your bankroll and you're just so inclined to light it on fire, then yes, it will have a direct result on the end result. However, those sessions are a part of a larger season. So that's how like I look at
Absolutely.
things in terms of, a couple bad sessions, it is what it is, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that I haven't strung together multiple bad sessions in a row. Not going to sit here and say I haven't strung multiple months in a row that were bad, right? Did I end up losing on the year? Yeah, probably, right? But again, learn from those things and then focus on the positive piece of that. If there is a positive, which hopefully there is, right? Spring was bad, but summer's going to be great. Or summer was great. What did I do in the summer that I can then implement in the fall for my gambling or whatever it may be. So I don't know. I like that analogy. I have literally a whole
Yeah,
chapter in the book called The Season. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see if it ever comes out.
that's awesome. Well, I think it's, you know, poignant that you're talking about, you divide, it makes you divide things into fours. Like fours and threes are very prominent in my life of just the way I think about numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I try to remember a number, I break it down into four numbers or three numbers. Sometimes if it's four numbers, I'll associate a year to it, like, you know, but it's allowed me to remember uh, credit card numbers because credit card numbers are in fours. It's four
Yep.
digits, four digits, four digits, four digits. Social security numbers. It's 324. It's just it. I always break numbers down, and so I break. My bankroll sometimes is broken down in a similar fashion. There's four quarters to 100. You know, um, it's interesting that you can you can think that way and think about quarters and just be able to apply it to a larger scale thing or really get minute, right?
Yep.
Really dig into the gritty details and still have that concept. No, I think that probably gives you an edge. Um,
Yeah, just
it
as limiting
definitely
losses does.
makes you, but it definitely makes you think about the limiting losses and the way that you go about playing or gambling as a craps player. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you right now, the way you think about the game and the way you go about it is pretty super disciplined. Um, it's not like a far stretch or a surprise that you're bringing this information out right now, and the way you're thinking about things is in a very disciplined manner. I still think that I'm playing too chaotic overall. I don't get to the casino as much as I'd like to. There's a lot of stuff happening, whether it's life or work or, bankroll depletion that is for the most part is my fault. Like I could have limited my losses on a lot of sessions, whether it be AC, Vegas, local, doesn't matter. Like I could have limited my losses if I just thought differently, thought more disciplined. I just think if you can think about it in a more disciplined way and become a more disciplined gambler. Discipline has so many parts to it, is what I'm trying to get at.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
not just it's not just, you know, okay, I'm going to set aside this much money. I'm only going to shoot from one end. I'm only going to shoot from with one dice set. Like that's not the discipline we're talking about. We're talking about the overall gambling experience from how much money you're putting into it, how much you're documenting it, how much you're practicing, how much you're planning, how much you're willing to play with, how you're playing, how you stop, how you walk away. All of that requires discipline. Really think discipline is the number one thing. And we've discussed discipline on other episodes, but I'm totally behind what you're talking about, especially as it pertains to limiting losses.
Yeah. No, discipline. I think honestly, it would be great if people could learn discipline first before they even learn the games in the casino, to be fair. But unfortunately, a big piece of discipline comes from, playing and learning while you're playing, and from experience that you had. But do want to circle back to one thing you said, because I do have to commend you actually, on I know you said, you play chaotic and stuff. Honestly speaking, and I'm not just saying this because you're sitting here with me, like I've seen a lot of people who go to the casino rarely or less frequently who play like you just let a bull out of the cage. And I feel like that's a normal inclination for a lot of people to play that way. So you don't. So I guess props and kudos did have to bring that up because like knowing that you don't go as often as maybe you would like or not as often as you could or should or whatever it may be, I feel like that gives people almost a false sense when they go that like they can just be like degenerates and play like an idiot
Right.
almost. So I think that's an important piece too, because like I know a few people who go to the casino like a handful of times a year, if that. And when they go, it's like a tornado's ripping through. Like everybody knows that they're there, and not in a good way. They're not there for very long. They hit it and quit it basically, and they hit it is usually their bankroll getting hit because like they play like idiots. And it's unfortunate, but do have to say that like when we do play and when I do see you in the casino and all that kind of stuff, like it is discipline. You may think it's chaotic at times, sure, but don't we all get a little chaotic at times? And I like again, I'm not gonna say I don't play chaotic at times. In the grand scheme of things, I'm not playing chaotic. I'm playing pretty disciplined. But if I was going to the casino maybe
Right.
a couple times a year and I got a little chaotic, I would focus more on that chaotic part. But I know all the other discipline sessions would outweigh that piece of it. So I do have to say that though, because I feel like some people might think you might get a little on edge or something when you're at the casino. You play a little undisciplined. But to be fair, like it is actually quite remarkable how disciplined you are for how undisciplined you could potentially be, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. I mean, and thank you. I really do think my my last part of discipline is I gotta walk away when I'm up.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to walk away when you're down.
Yeah.
And I actually have stopped before, and it was like, you know what, it's not working. I'm gonna go home. I've done it a couple of times from the local. Just the last 2 times I went to the local. I only went with like $300-400. One time I got down to 290. I said, you know what, it's not happening tonight. I'm out. So I walked. $110 loss. Like okay, whatever. But I know that, like, I know I can win at this game, and that's it's a different feeling than somebody who's going to say, "Man, I just go to the casino and I'll just take it and I just throw it. I throw it all on the yo or I throw it all on midnight, man. I'm going to win." Boom. Like, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
I am teaching myself how to read the table. I am teaching myself how to stretch a low bankroll. I'm teaching myself dice sets, dice throwing, how to throw. I really want to be a Swiss Army knife of craps. I've always lived
Mm-hmm.
my life that way. Granted, am I going to be a master of something? Probably not. Am I going to be really good at a lot of shit? I thrive on that.
Yep.
So, we've gone to the tables and some people like, they're out of position. They don't, their position stick left one or stick right one, and they're out of position. And so they decide, I'm not going to throw. Fuck that. Give me the dice. I want to learn how to throw into the hook. I want to learn from stick left 1, 2, 3. I want to learn from the end. Like, I want to learn how to do all of that stuff. And I want to, Chris, I've been doing the past couple of weeks. I don't even think I told you. Maybe I said it just in passing. I've been strategically standing at the end of the craps table, forcing myself to learn how to throw left-handed.
Yeah.
And it's not like, trying to do par toss from stick right, just left-handed, whether it's rolling it, whether it's pitching it, whether it's doing an all 7 set like I would with my right hand up against the hook. Like everything I do with my right arm, I want to learn how to do with my left arm.
That's impressive
Because
though.
because well, I mean, my local gets so crowded on the
Mm-hmm.
weekends, and it's like if there's a spot open, I want it, and I don't care
Yeah.
where it is, but wherever it is, I want to be able to throw. I don't want to. I don't like passing the dice personally.
Mm-hmm.
To me, passing the dice is just pussying out. Like you could really do any worse than the next person who's just hucking and chucking. Really, like just take the chance. Just you might have a wild random roll that lasts an hour.
True.
You don't know,
True.
you know, but I also think that gives you an edge as well.
It does.
And that
Yep.
and it does take discipline. And if I can learn to limit, if I had learned to limit my losses and learn to do it much better and really learn how to throw from anywhere, I think I'll be on the right track of being a more winning player. Um, which I think goes into our second topic about learning to toss the dice. It really
Mm-hmm.
is an extra edge. I'm not going to say it's the ultimate edge because I think betting is so much part of the game. And if you know
Oh
how to
yeah.
bet, you don't have to shoot. You just learn how to bet, you know. But the thing, Chris, a lot of people like they just want to win the ATS. I love repeaters. I love hitting the same number more than once. I love hitting
Yep.
it 3, 4, 5 times. Um, that to me, that's a challenge. Obviously hitting the ATS is a challenge because it doesn't happen very often, even statistically. But repeating numbers, I think, happens more often than, hitting sides of the ATS. Because again, what did Jen say? You have to be a sprayer to really
Oh
be
yeah.
able to hit the ATS. But a lot of us who are now, there are people like Ed and some and 10 ton maybe and some other people who mudslide Mac who are so disciplined in their toss, they've come across dice sets that they can change to because they're trying to hit the ATS. That's different. But for me, I'm trying to find tosses that give me repeat numbers because I thrive and to me and me only, it's the same thing like you get something different from craps than I do. I don't know what really gets your fire going. And I'm not talking about hitting bonus bets, but like just regularly playing. Like what just makes like the inner Chris like fucking want to scream woohoo and be like all joyous at the table.
Prize shooting or somebody else shooting?
Doesn't matter.
If I'm shooting, it's just consistent numbers that I expect on that set. I know I'm staying on axis. It's almost like I can quote unquote call my shot. Not that I could call my shot, but like I can expect what's coming. And typically it's like you said, repeaters, or I'm pounding certain numbers that I am also betting on. So when I'm in that groove of I know exactly what my dice are doing, it's like this story at Harris, right? When I kept hitting hard ways, I knew
Yeah,
exactly what my dice were doing. I was setting to hit those hard ways and I was hitting them. Like that gets me way more excited than hitting the ATS. I never hit the ATS on that roll. Was I close? Sure. Would I have liked to hit it? Sure. To me, though, and like, we said, I made a hell of a lot more money in the hard ways and in the box than I would have on the ATS anyway. So, like, being in that zone and being dialed in on certain numbers, like, that's what kind of gets me, I guess, excited, lights that fire is when I'm, throwing a specific set that I know should bring me sixes and eights, and I just one after another six, eight, six. Yeah, throw a five or a nine in there, throw a four or 10 in there, whatever. But, like, out of, let's say 10 rolls, like four or five sixes or eights, like, that is, give me that all day long.
absolutely. I mean, there's a reason I did the Access Craps book of book of rolls.
Yeah.
Ed had suggested a set. I used the set. I did 4 books. From that, I found my column, and my column said that a 3264 gives me inside numbers. Well, for goddamn sure, when I'm focused and things are rolling, I am fucking hitting inside numbers. Occasionally there's a 4, occasionally there's a 10. There's not many hard ways, but I am hitting fucking 5, 6, 8s, and 9s. And that just excites the shit out of me because if I can get that to work at the table, like, oh man,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah. I mean,
we've all had long rolls where we're hitting specific numbers and it changes. We've even said
uh
on long rolls, sixes and eights, all of a sudden fives and nines are prevalent and prominent at that time. And oh, okay, here come the fours and tens. Like, okay, now I need to learn how to bet
yeah.
what's rolling so that you can continue winning good money. Now that I've found set that works for me, now I'm going to feel more comfortable playing 66 inside or 110 inside. Whereas before, I may not have been as confident
uh
because I was only able to hit a 9 or I was only able to hit repeaters on an 8 or,
Yep.
a 10 and sixes. Like, but no, now I found a set that when I'm really focused and zoned in, I am hitting inside numbers and it just excites the shit out of me, you know?
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's funny you mentioned that you were shooting left-handed, because I have also been shooting left-handed a lot, or at home. I haven't done it in the casino yet, but I've been practicing a lot at home. And I've done, the books on bone throw and all that kind of stuff, and I've found sets, and it's actually been really, really good for me to shoot left-handed because I am not left-handed. I'm right-handed. I do nothing left-handed. Like my left hand is practically useless, right? Like I use it to, do stuff, I guess, but like I mean, my right hand is my dominant hand by far, right? But the reason I've been practicing shooting left-handed is for that same reason, right? everybody wants the left side of the table. Great, right? Me too, right? I'd rather shoot from the left side of the table. However,
Right.
it's not always an option. And from a bunch of sports injuries and other stuff, I cannot throw very long on the right side of the table right-handed, right? It's an awkward position. I got to put my arm in an awkward spot, kind of, mainly because I'm tall, right? If I was shorter, I wouldn't have necessarily a problem with it. But like with my height, I have to lean and, kind of augment my arm and all that kind of stuff. And with rotator cuff injuries and elbow injuries and all that kind of stuff, after a while, I get sore and I can't throw anymore. So I've been practicing shooting left-handed because my left hand hasn't been injured as much, and it's a normal kind of toss as I would with my right hand, right? But I've almost been like relearning how to throw dice because right-handed, right? It came kind of natural to me because it's my right hand. Left-handed, I've had to go like back to the ABCs on how to throw dice because it's not a natural feeling for me. So I've had to learn the grip, right? I'm focusing on the landing zone, the arc, the pace, all that kind of stuff. And it took me a while to even get into it. So when I first started throwing left-handed, I could care less what the results were, right? I didn't even care what the set was. I was just trying to get landing zone and the throwdown. Then when I got comfortable with that, then I started, all right, we're going to start on a hard way set, right? Easy to analyze, easy to enter into Bone Tracker. I'm using that. I've done numerous books now with my left hand that are starting to give me sets, and I'm starting to get to the point where I'm, using the columns, and I'm like, all right, this set should give me inside numbers. Bang, here we go. And like, it's getting there, right? It's not there yet. And especially for people who are working on their toss and all that kind of stuff, for the most part, your toss will never be there all the time, right? You can't say, like,
Right.
I've mastered dice tossing, right? I could maybe name a few people who have, quote unquote, mastered dice tossing. And even then, they're going to tell you they have good days and bad days, right? Everybody's going to have them. But you kind of have to really get involved in the focus of what goes into the toss and the discipline to learn the actual toss or tosses, right? There's numerous different toss types, all that kind of stuff. You have to find what works for you. And the only way you can do that is to practice, right? And that brings in, again, that discipline piece where if you're more disciplined, right, you're going to limit your losses. You're going to maybe learn how to throw the dice. If you're not interested in learning how to throw the dice, then don't bother, right? I would encourage you to
Right.
learn how to throw the dice. But if it's not interesting to you, don't do it, right? If you don't like playing baseball, don't play baseball. Like, you don't do it. So if you don't like throwing the dice or you don't think it matters, then that's, no one's going to change your mind but yourself, right? You could sit in a casino with, the best dice tossers in the world. And if you don't think they're going to have any influence on the dice, and their outcomes are going to be as random as you throwing from the end of the table, they're not going to change your mind probably. So don't waste your time on it if that's how you feel. But for the people who do want to go down the path of learning how to throw dice, I think it's super well worth it. I do think betting is super important, but like you said, if you can dial in your toss to know approximately or a handful of numbers that you're going to throw, I mean, that just helps your betting game more than it hurts it.
But here's the thing, and let's put a disclosure up. We are not going to be talking about dice mechanics. We're talking more about the emotional mechanics. When you're tossing dice, it things change. Like when the stick slides the dice to you, if you're not comfortable with it, pass the dice. But if you're game for throwing it, take a moment, grip it, breathe, focus. Because here's the thing, you can do the bone tracker, and it really doesn't matter what dice set. You could pick any fucking dice set.
Mm-hmm.
Bone tracker is about more, to me, it's about how consistent can you get your toss? How
Mm-hmm.
consistent can you hit that landing zone? How consistent are you gripping them? You could be gripping them all over the place and it's just a random toss, whatever. But
Yeah.
if you're
And
really
bone
trying to
tracker's not going to
dial
help you.
in to find out, absolutely. If you're really trying to dial in and find out what dice sets work for your toss, find a consistent toss and be consistent in it. That's where the discipline is for your toss. Because when you are dialed in and you're being consistent, and it's everything. We've already talked about, we're not really going into the mechanics, but the mindset, you have to go in with the mindset that you're going to be throwing. You have to block out that everybody's looking at you, that the outcome really is going to be based on whatever rolls. Can you control it all? No. But if you're consistent, that means you're picking up the dice in the same manner. You're approaching the table in the same manner. You're tossing in the same manner. They're landing in the approximate area that you meant for them to land in, and they're hitting off the back wall nicely and stopping right then and there. It's consistent, it's precise. If you can do that, I guarantee you're going to be hitting repeat numbers. You're going to be able to know and if you can read your dice, Chris mentioned it earlier, reading the dice is so important. If you're able to read what your dice are doing, you can change whatever you need to. If you're reading the dice and you know that the left die turned over or single pitched and the other die exploded, if you know that and you've done it 5 times in a row that one of them is exploding, the other one's double pitching or single pitching, that is information that's going to tell you, hey, if you turn the die 1/4 or if you pitch it over or if you pitch it this way, now you might get the number you were trying to get.
Yep.
Because now you're reading the dice and you're reading what they do. And with a consistent toss, you can hit what you meant to hit when you decided to pick the dice up.
Yep.
I think it's really important that even with betting and just playing craps, Chris, there's like 5 main things. I don't know. There's like you got to take your ego out of it. You got to breathe. You got to focus. You got to have discipline, and you have to be consistent if you're going to be a shooter. One of the things I wanted to bring up, Chris, because you're here and we're doing the show is, and I'm going to skip down here and skip over some other part that I had, but you remember when we spoke about the 3 types of players, the confident player, the timid player, and the undisciplined player? I think the same thing applies to 3 shooter archetypes. You have the confident shooter, the timid shooter, and the undisciplined shooter. I wanted you to speak to, we've talked about how they play or how they bet, but in your minds, how do these 3 archetypes, how do each of them toss?
So I'm gonna start with the crazy one, the uncontrolled or chaotic shooter. That's gonna be your standard, just huck and chuck, or somebody who thinks, and I'm gonna put thinks in air quotes, because it's their thought and their thought alone, nobody else, is that they are, influencing the dice in some way. Those are the people that you're gonna see that are, tossing the dice against the back wall, doing all the crazy shit before they throw, all that kind of stuff. And every single toss is different. Every single toss is landing somewhere differently. It's different heights, different rate out of speed, out of the arm. I mean, it's different everything, right? And those kind of the uncontrolled, that kind of stuff, like that is usually it's an ego problem, right? And they think that they're doing something, but in reality, it's just as random as shaking the dice and chucking them across the table. Right? That's exactly what they're doing. For me, the timid shooter is somebody who doesn't really trust themselves enough to shoot. They're a little bit more worried about the monetary aspect than they are the actual shooting. They might be a lights out shooter, but they're more focused on the money piece of it, or they're too focused on the mechanics, right? There's such a thing as being too focused on the mechanics that's what consumes your mind when you're throwing. You don't want to be in that state. You want to just be free, loose, easy, and just, in your zone maybe, but you don't want to be sitting here and being like, okay, we go back, we go forward, and oh, was that too fast? Was that too slow? Guess what? By the time you figure out, was it too fast, too slow, the dice are out of your hands and they're all down the table and the results are already called out by the stick. So good luck. And then the controlled shooter would be, somebody who, or the confident shooter is somebody who's well practiced, right? They have that discipline of being a shooter. They've practiced scenarios on their table, right? They've been down trying to come back. They've practiced with landmines in their ways. They're prepared for any situation, right? Stick change doesn't really phase them. Someone being an idiot at the table doesn't really phase them. They're locked in, they're focused on their toss, and they're focused on the next roll, and that's all they really care about. They don't care what you have your money on. They care what they have their money on and what the next toss is. But again, to be a, disciplined shooter or the confident shooter, what it really comes down to is discipline and practiced ability, in my opinion, because I've seen a lot of people who have, good looking tosses, let's say, but it's a good looking toss 20% of the time. When it looks good, it
Right.
looks great. But when it doesn't look good, it looks horrible. So you could tell, they're not practiced or they don't really care, right? It's the same thing. You got to be, if you want to be good at anything, you got to really practice. You can't just, sit here and be good at something a lot of the time. I always equate it to golf. Like, if you want to be good at golf, you got to hit the range, you got to hit the chipping green, and you got to hit the putting greens, right? You can't sit here and just think you're going to be a good golfer because you can bomb balls at the driving range. Guess what? No course looks like a driving range. I'll tell you that right now. A driving range real easy to hit, right? They're usually really wide, and there's nothing in your way. Well, guess what? On a
Right.
golf course, you got shit in your way. You don't have that wide. Sometimes you have tight windows you got to hit through. Same people who aren't practicing the chipping, the short game, the putting, all that kind of stuff. Earth alert, earth shattering news to folks at home. If you're a good golfer, half your game is your short game. If you don't got a good short game, you're not going to be a good golfer. I can tell you that right now. But enough of golf, because I could talk about golf forever. It's just, you need to be practiced in order to be that confident shooter.
Well, and I think, a lot of our audience probably recognizes a little bit of one of these or a combination of these in themselves. And again, we were talking about the emotional mechanics. But I mean, and we're not trying to offer, or say that the way that we say or offer advice is you got to do what we say. But, if we're offering some advice, Chris, to these kinds of shooters or anybody who's just really interested in wanting to learn to shoot because they want that extra edge too at the casino, is slow down, breathe, practice, detach yourself from the outcome. That's one of the most important things. When you're practicing shooting, don't give a crap what the result is. Work on getting those dice together and making sure that that's a pretty toss. Are you hitting your landing zone? Are you gripping them the same way every time? Look at your actual grip. Don't just like blindly grip them. Like, look, is your thumb below your fingers? Like, are they even? Are they halfway down the pips, if that's the way you want to do it? Or are they on the edge? And are they on the edge every single time? When you turn your wrist to shoot straight down, are you in line? A lot of people use the pass line or the don't pass line to be their guide as how their dice should go down the table. Chris talked earlier about an arc. You get a nice arc going. Nobody says a 45-degree angle is always going to be achieved. Some people throw better with a low arch or a low arc. Chris, you've played with me multiple times. Do I throw with a low arc?
Nope.
No. Chris Sideshow Gamble will tell you. He's like, Craig throws them up and they come smacking down. And
Yep.
but when they hit, a lot of times they lose a lot of energy right there before they hit the wall. And that's why you've seen in a bunch of my lives, you've seen dice just come right off the wall and stop. It does not happen all the time. It is a very hard thing to do, but I'm practicing that a lot. Even if I'm not doing live shows and being on YouTube and all that other stuff, I am still practicing an hour a day. That's minimum, right? That's minimum what somebody should be doing if they're wanting to learn how to throw dice. If you're
Yep.
being honest with yourself and you're doing Bone Tracker and you really want to learn what dice sets, you really want to learn how to read dice, you got to put the time in.
100%.
Chris talked earlier about the golf reference. Like, if you're serious about learning how to golf, no, you're not going to the range on the weekends. You're probably going to the range 3 to 4 to 5 times a week. And maybe you're doing small sessions. But again, are there trees in your way when you're at the golf range? No. Are there obstacles in your way? But are they are they in your way on the course? Absolutely. I was at Rocky Gap real quick. I was at Rocky Gap in Maryland, and I went to the Rocky Gap golf course. And I can't remember what hole it was. We were on the green, but surrounding the green is a rocky gap. Okay. In the rocky gap was a snake that was working its way up to the green. Startled the fuck out of me. But you have to be able to shut out the chaos so that you can concentrate and focus. You're going to have that drunk guy that comes up to the craps table and either spills his chips or his beer on the fucking felt. It happens. You're going to have the drunk person at the end who is slurring his speech but wants to shoot. Like, you got to be able to block shit out. You got to be able to block shit out and focus. And when you do that, that's going to be part of the consistency. The consistency is not just the toss itself. It's everything that goes into the toss. We've said before, if something chaotic happened at the table, like a fight broke out or some argument on the other end with a dealer and a player, and you just picked up your dice, put them down, take a step back, come back, regrip, reset, and do your toss. But and Chris, I know that you've been in this kind of zone before where everything is just white noise, and when they slide the dice, like your eyes are so locked in on the fucking dice when they slide them over to you that you're like flip, 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 got it, boom, grip, gone. Like you don't even think about it. It's so fluent, right? And that's what that's what we're getting at with increasing your edge by learning how to shoot.
And that comes with a lot of practice. You said it, right?
A lot of practice and a lot of discipline.
That's what it comes with. And like you said, right? A couple hours, not going to be it, right? First time tossing, you have a great roll. Congratulations. Do it 30 more times. It's not going to be the same result, right? It takes dedication and a desire to actually build the skill. Because it's not like a very easy thing to do. It's like almost like a journey that you have to go on. And there's going to be hard parts, right? You can't just sit here and expect, it's going to go well. I've had plenty of times where I'm sitting here throwing and I'm in a groove for a while. And then all of a sudden, like you would think I've never tossed dice in my life. But again, you learn from it, you use that. And that's also why you can be so, I don't want to say I'm ignorant when I'm at the casino, but I kind of am. I'm just ignorant of like everything that's going on the table when I'm the shooter. Like I really am.
Yeah.
And it's not because I want to be, it's because I have to be, right? Because I'm more focused on my toss and I'm focused on what's going on in between here and on the table, as opposed to what some guy at the end of the table saying, what the dealer's saying, what bets are out on the table. I frankly do not care. Like I really don't. I'm focused in the toss.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great point. And I think we need to add, what is it? Minimum 500 hours you need to put into it. Minimum.
Yeah, a lot of hours, a lot of hours. Like, and
think about
the
it.
Thing too,
500 hours. If you're doing an hour a day, well, that's over a year, isn't it? Yeah, that's over a year.
A year and a half. Yep. I think the other thing too is like the timing piece of it. Like, there's not an official amount of time. I would say minimum 500 hours probably. Because like you have to find what works for you and then work on that, right? Like, I may throw the par toss. Somebody else might throw a Yuri grip. Somebody else is throwing a chopper, like throwing all these different things. And you can experiment with things, but in order for you to be a practice shooter, like the screwing around, like experimenting doesn't count in my opinion, right? Like if I am practicing, it's casino simulation and I am locked in on one specific thing and that's what I'm doing, right? You're not going to see me sit here, practice a toss, and then, I'm going to switch grips because I want to. No, like if you're going to practice doing that, fine. But you can't sit here and be gripping the dice differently every single time and be throwing at different speeds, different arcs, all that kind of stuff. You got to focus on the basics of it, and you got to focus on the discipline piece of practicing and getting it all down, and then you'll be on your way to your 500 or how many ever hours that somebody, feels the need to practice. And it doesn't stop at 500 hours or when you think you're good, because you got to keep practicing to maintain it. If not, you're going to show up to the casino thinking you can shoot and you can't shoot for shit.
That's the thing. It's yes, I learned that the 3-2-6-4 dice set gives me inside numbers over a year and a half ago. And I'm telling you, I'm still practicing an hour a day. Like you can't stop it. Like you just have to, you have to keep going. Plus, if you're working on your bet progressions, which you should be working on your bet progressions while you're practicing, the only way to do it is somebody to shoot. And if you're by yourself, you're going to have to be the shooter. But I think one thing I finally want to say about this is, because you kind of mentioned it earlier about, being able to just block out the chaos, right? Is if you have to tell a dealer to shut up or, a player to shut up in order for you to toss, then you're not there yet.
Yep.
When you're there, none of that shit will matter. None of that shit will matter because you'll be so locked in on your toss. None of it will matter. None of it will phase you. Somebody could come up to you
100%.
like that. Doesn't matter. You're like, whoop. And the thing is, I think one of the things you also have to teach yourself is because casinos are calling you out more and more is don't take a lot of time doing it. You shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
You should know when you get the dice to you, you should know what set, how to get to it, and how to get to it in less than 5 seconds. Like, boom, toss it. Like, some people that take literally, Chris, they take like a fucking minute to figure
Yeah.
it out. And by the time they do that, they fuck up the toss itself, like the arm lift. Like they fucked up the arm lift or the dice like stuck to their finger. Like they fucked up the toss some other way. Like
Yeah.
figure it out and learn how to get it down to where it's only a few seconds because it's going to be less stress on you at the casino if you're taking less time to get to the dice set and get it going. And that way you can be in that zone.
100%. 100%. Good topics today. Definitely some good topics today,
Facts.
Craig.
We're spreading
But
facts.
we're spreading facts. I think it's time for one of our favorite spreads, though. Is it time for the top 5?
I think it is. It's time for the top 5. All right. Today's top 5 is top 5 ideas around betting, gambling, life, and better decision making. Chris, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is an ode to something we have talked about today. So my number 5 is knowing when to walk away can be your superpower. The casinos, bad situations in life, whatever it may be, usually don't reward people who stay around longer than they should. Discipline is usually about restraint. So knowing to walk away, and that could be your superpower.
I love it. So my number 5 kind of goes a little bit with what Chris was graciously saying about how I do play at the table. My number 5 is your decisions reveal you more than your wins do. Anyone can look wise on a heater. The real truth shows up when things get messy, when the dice turn cold, when the plan falls apart, and when the universe says, not today. In gambling and in life, your character isn't measured by your victories. It's measured by how you behave when the odds stop cooperating.
Love that. I love that one. My number 4 is small edges or victories compounded beat those big dramatic swings. Yes, we all love a miracle win, some ridiculous parlay, whatever it may be that leads to an exciting story. But for longevity purposes, consistent improvement is going to be your best friend. Consistent small wins are going to be your best friend, whether it be bankroll management, patience, incremental gains, disciplined exits. The same principles that drive successful investors, craps players, athletes, business owners. It's that they have small victories as opposed to massive wins or looking for massive wins all the time.
All the time. They search it. They search for it, and sometimes it doesn't happen.
Sometimes they're still looking. They're still looking. They're out there with their binoculars. They're still, I'm looking for it.
There's some people still looking.
Still.
All right. My number 4, most mistakes come from trying to speed up a good outcome. What do I mean? People don't blow bankrolls because they're reckless. They blow them because they're impatient. You want the win now. You want the answer now. You want the life change now. But rushing the process is how you ruin the result. Slow decisions age better than fast impulses.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, my number 3 is variance is real, and don't confuse luck with skill. Hot streaks can make stupid people or bad bettors feel smart. Cold streaks can make disciplined people abandon a good process. Whether it's craps or life, short-term outcomes can lie to you. Better decision makers are going to have a quality of a process and not just the immediate result.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Kind of goes
All
along
right.
with your number 4.
Mine, right? My number 3 is the table doesn't owe you a comeback, and neither does life. Chasing is a belief problem. You think the universe is keeping score. You think you do. You think the next roll will fix the last one, but neither the dice nor life is running a tab in your favor. You get what you manage, not what you're owed.
Truth. Dropping lots of truth bombs on them today, Craig. All right, my number 2 is survival matters more than your so-called brilliance. Whether it be gambling or life, most people fail from one catastrophic decision, not from a lack of talent or accumulation of small bad decisions. If you're protecting your bankroll, your reputation, health, relationships, whatever it may be, that's what's going to keep you in the game, quote unquote, long enough for good opportunities to appear, not relying on one decision to make or break you.
I like that one. I like that one. All right, my number 2 may seem like a cop out because I think we've actually might have. I think we actually might have even said it in another episode. My number 2 is the smartest bet is the one you don't make when you're emotional. Tilt isn't loud; it's subtle. It's the sigh, the shoulder slump, the "I'll just do one more." The moment you start making decisions from frustration instead of clarity, you're no longer playing the game. The game is playing you.
My number 1 is also a cop out, I guess, because it's similar along the same lines. Emotions can be expensive. Most of your bad bets or your bad decisions are going to come from anger, ego, desperation, fear, or a false sense of overconfidence. Can happen in business, gambling, investing, relationships, whatever it may be. Emotional reactions create rushed decisions. If you're calm, you're usually going to make better long-term choices.
That's a fact. That's a fact right there. This might be the other side of your similar to my number 2. This is my number 1. Your future self is always at the table. Bet like you respect them. Every decision you make today becomes a story of your future self that your future self has to live with. Every bet, every choice, every moment of discipline or chaos, it's all rolls forward. Good decision making is simply this: act like the person you want to be stuck with tomorrow.
I like that one. I like that one a lot. I think it's a thing a lot of people kind of forget about, or don't focus on that. Short-term decisions have their impacts, but they're not focused on the big picture. They're always focused on what's next, as opposed to maybe how it could impact them in a couple hours, how it could impact them in a couple years, whatever it may be. So I love that one. I love that one. Great top 5. Just dropping life advice for people. They came for gambling advice. Now they might get some life advice. Just remember, this is all not financial advice. All right. Don't ever forget that. This is nothing financial.
Well,
Craig and I aren't financial advisors. Even if you think that we
no.
are, we're not. Craig,
We're not.
tip of the
Not even
episode.
close. All right, tip of the episode. Our tip of the episode is don't rebuy in after visiting the cashier cage. The moment you walk to the cage, your session is over. Not paused, not on hold, over. That's the truth nobody wants to hear because it kills the fantasy of the comeback. But the cage is the finish line. Once you cross it, you're not a player anymore. You're a dreamer looking for a do-over. Rebuying after the cage isn't about chips. It's about emotion. It's ego. So when you walk to the cage, you're admitting the session is over. It didn't go your way. You're acknowledging the bankroll took a hit. You're accepting reality. But when you turn around and rebuy, Chris, you're rejecting all of that. You're trying to rewrite the story you just lived through. That's how small losses become all-time disasters.
Yes, that is very, very true. Side tip off of that tip. And it's not always the easiest thing. All right. But one thing that I have done, and I have employed in my casino adventures is once I go to the cashier's cage, I avoid the games that I like walking by them. Now,
That's interesting.
it may not be the easiest thing to do. Like at Valley Forge, it's impossible because when you walk into Valley Forge, you walk by, like you come in the door, right? Slots are all to your right. No one gives a shit. To your left is blackjack, craps, all that kind of stuff, right? The cashier's cage is past them. So when I go to the cashier's cage, I have to walk back past the craps table, past the blackjack tables, whatever it may be. I have actually done this, and I made my neighbor do this, and my neighbor was like, "Where the hell are you going?" And I'm like, just listen, follow me on this one. All right. I walk around the perimeter of the casino now, on the inside, around the slot machines. Why? Because slot machines don't tempt me at all. Right. And I'm not saying that I would be tempted to go play those games again, right? Because the discipline piece comes in that I'm not going to rebuy, but don't give yourself the option. Walk away from them, right? If you're leaving the casino, even if you're staying at the casino, actively avoid walking by whatever game you were just playing or whatever games you like to play that you may go and rebuy in. You can avoid them. There's ways to do it. It may not be the easiest path, but it will stop you from going to those games because in order to go to that game, you're going to have to think and make a decision. Oh, shoot, I shouldn't go back. But your conscience telling you don't go back. Just take the loss. You already cashed out, hit the door.
I would say this, and just like this is a tip on a tip on a tip. Even if you had a winning session and you're up, maybe you hit the ATS. I've told you all before about the time I hit the fire bet. So I went to the cashier's cage, cashed all up except for 250 in chips. I put that in my pocket. The problem is I could have gone around, and you know what I'm talking about, Chris, gone around the perimeter to go up where AC Burger is and come back around. And then I could have gone over to Bobby Flay's Burgers, which is actually where Lou, Ted, and a bunch of us ate over there after winning the fire bet. What did I do on the way back to the elevators? Walked past the craps table, played with the 250 in chips that were in my pocket, lost it, went back up to my room. You had all the chances to walk a different direction, but you decided to walk past the table again that you've already said goodnight to. And it's amazing that discipline just went
out the window. Went out the window, and you can't do that. But, folks, you know what you can do? You need to email us, FullofChipsPodcast@gmail.com.
There you go.
You can send us your questions, your
You can do
comments,
that.
whatever you want to send us. Full-length episodes, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Short-form content on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And finally, the Patreon link is down below. Go join. Craig, take us out on an excellent episode 44.
So keep your ego out of your grip. Keep your bankroll out of the donation bin. And keep your whole damn mindset full of chips.